Yeah. Burning rubber, tires screaming, engines go berserk. Pit stop precision like surgeons at work. Wheel to wheel, hands on the grip, no chill. Broadcast live, PeaceMaker keeping it real. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. 360 on the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. On the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Yeah. From amateurs to legends, it's all the same heat. One wrong move might sweep defeat. High octane stakes climb mile by mile. PeaceMaker's mic hot, adding flames to the style. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. Greasy, the grind stay greasy. 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 Yeah. Burning rubber, tires screaming, engines go berserk. Pit stop precision like surgeons at work. Wheel to wheel, hands on the grip, no chill. Broadcast live, PeaceMaker keeping it real. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. 360 on the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. On the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Yeah. From amateurs to legends, it's all the same heat. One wrong move might sweep defeat. High octane stakes climb mile by mile. PeaceMaker's mic hot, adding flames to the style. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. Greasy, the grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rock and roll here this evening as Hardy Designs says, let's go, baby. Let's get it, chat. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as the racing action about to get underway. The fun is just about to get started here this evening from Kansas Speedway. Is the Wheel-to-Wheel Racing League back in action here tonight, and this is going to be an absolutely fun show. There's going to be a lot of action out there on the Speedway. Everyone's going to be looking to try to battle their way up towards the front of the field. Everyone's going to be looking to try to put themselves into the winner's circle, but man, it's going to get tough. As here tonight, this is our first I don't know if we're doing eliminations or not. I don't think we're doing eliminations in this series. So I think for a lot of these drivers, it's all about earning the points and trying to hunt down the drivers in front of you and trying to hunt down our points leader here as we'll get ready to rock and roll. We'll get ready to go green flag racing in just a few more moments. Let's see if we can get the standings up where you guys can get a good look and see kind of where, you know, your favorite drivers may be standing. Here we go. Our playoffs here, and there is our playoff standing. So coming into the race, Matthew Wood with a commanding lead here. 59 points separating himself and Grant Applegate. Now, we did see a few drivers, unfortunately, missing the race last week, and unfortunately, as they were missing the race, they unfortunately did not get the opportunity to earn the points that they were looking for. So that really hurt Jordan Fisher, Aiden Lucas, Keegan Huey back there. These guys are a lot of points back right now, and that's going to make it very, very tough and definitely going to be hard for them to even potentially maybe get back inside the top 5 here this season. But man, it is a dominating series so far for Matthew Wood as he continues to keep on rolling here at the front of the pack, and he'll look to continue to try to keep his winning ways up and see if he can try to stretch out that lead a little bit more between himself and Applegate. See Evan Stewart right there in third. Wyatt Mickelson up into fourth now in the points. Nick Biddy, after a great run there last weekend, able to slide up into fifth with Zachary Perry, Zach Later, Jordan Fisher, Ryan Haller, and Jason Bogart rounding out our top 10 here in the point standings. Aiden Lucas and Keegan Huey bringing up the rear of our points as all these drivers will get ready to rumble. They'll get ready to go to battle. Here is our A-main feature event about to get underway. They're getting ready to go to battle here in this one as Jesse Biddy says Jesse and Cora Bella are here and ready. Let's go. Jesse and Cora Bella coming at you on the loft here in this one as Roadkill says, what are the betting odds on me being on my side at some point? Laugh my ass off. Ooh, brother, that's got to be at least, I'm going to say 4-to-1 odds. I'm going to say at least 4-to-1 odds probably that we'll see Roadkill at some point in time, either upside down or on his side somewhere out there on the racetrack. Definitely not on all 4 wheels. I'm sure we'll see that at some point in time here this evening as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to rumble, ready to go to battle here today as they'll roll out onto the straightaway here, and we'll get ready to go through our starting grid. It's starting on the pole in the number 57. That is Grant Applegate. So Applegate will start out in front here. Great start here for the 57 ride, but right there to his outside, the guy that he's battling with here for the points lead, Matthew Wood, going to start in position number 2. Wyatt Mickelson there in third with Nick Jensen back in position number 4. Dustin Hardy there in 5th. Evan Stewart, our third place driver in points in that wheel-to-wheel racing ride. The 37 into position number 6 here for this start of the race. Caden Gargiulo back there in 7th, and then to his outside will be the 31, the old school throwback paint scheme here, I suppose, now for the Phoenix Esports 31 ride of Mr. Dylan Carrier, as we do see Jaden Porter and his wheel-to-wheel 74 machine there in 9th. To his outside will be Mike Coravu, and then we see Nick Beatty, Ethan Greek, Marquin Brewer, Ryan Haller, Jason Bogart, Zach Later, Jaden Browder, Brandon Eddington, Keegan Huey, Caleb Holloman bringing up the rear of the field here. 20 drivers taking the green flag. Unfortunately for the 76 ride, that is Zach Perry. Perry's going to have to start from pit road here. He'll have to get rocking and rolling. Unfortunately, early on, losing positions in for Jordan Hand and James Jones. Not out there on the racetrack here to start this race, and that could be a very, very tough place to be. So here we go, down through corner 3 and out of corner 4. A drag race back to the start-finish line. Applegate looking to lead lap number 1, and he will, but still hanging right there to his outside is that 16 machine of Matthew Wood. Matthew looking to try to pick up another checkered flag here on the weekend here, hoping to try to go for a bit of a weekend sweep here. Picked up the win last night in the Redemption Racing Series inaugural race, and now here he is looking for another big win here in the always amazing wheel-to-wheel racing league, as Wood does take that race lead away, able to lead lap number 2 here this evening. Applegate back there in second. Mickelson rolls in position number 3 here this evening, as we do see a couple of drivers having to come down pit road. Serving a black flag for the Hardy Designs 86 right. There goes Dustin Hardy down pit road, and for Zach Perry, looks like Perry's also off the racetrack, but we do see the caution flag fly. So yellow flag is out here this evening early on. Looks like some issues for Nick Jensen. Jensen was running up inside the top 5 here. And we see him with some pretty heavy damage there to that John Deere 42 ride. Let's take a look back and see what happens. See where this kind of gets started for the 42. Let's throw her into reverse and see what the issue may have been. So it looked like he was blinking quite a bit here. There was one driver that we saw blinking quite often if they're on the racetrack. I do believe it is that 42 ride. Kind of disappears right there. Then all of a sudden it kind of just reappears at some point in time here. I'm not sure where, but let's see if we can get another look at this. Let's see if we can play this back, see if we can jump on with one of the drivers that are kind of back behind him here. And let's take a look here at Evan Stewart. So Stewart's going to get pretty much a great look at this, as he's going to have the 42 in front of him somewhere down here on the apron. He's just going to be blinking. He kind of disappears off the race screen. Now he's down on the apron right here. You finally see him kind of rolling back out there. And for Nick Jensen, just carrying all that speed momentum down into corner number 1. Watches back up the racetrack and nowhere to go for Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo ends up getting a big piece of him right there. I'm not sure if any other drivers are going to get tied up in it. You see the 42 ride trying to get down out of the way, and it's, Ryan Haller. Nowhere to go for Haller here this evening, as he's going to slam into that 42 ride as well. And for Nick Jensen, internet connection issues here being a factor, unfortunately hurting a couple of our drivers out there on the racetrack. Damage now to Caden Gargiulo's ride, heavy damage to the 23 of Ryan Haller, and for Jensen, heavy damage himself, now losing that track position, and definitely not going to have a couple happy drivers out there on the racetrack wanting to battle with him, so he's going to have to try and get that fixed up as quickly as possible. I do believe he is exited the racing surface here. We do see Haller roll back out onto the racetrack, still in the lead lap. We do see Clater down pit side, Keegan Huey, Brandon Eddington also down pit road, so we'll have to wait and see. The 42 ride can get his internet fixed up, if that can start working well for him and get him back into the action here this evening, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, and ready to go back to green flag racing here this evening, as this is going to be it's going to be exciting, man. Early caution flag, early restart. Who is going to be able to make the move? Who is going to be able to try to jump up here and knock this 16 ride out of that top spot here in this race? It could be anybody's race. It could be anybody's game to this point here. You just never know when issues may strike. You look at the 42 ride and how quickly things kind of unfolded for him, or for the 7. The 23, and how quickly their good nights turned into rough nights out there onto the racetrack. We do see Caden Gargiulo. He stayed out on the racetrack, so even with a little bit of damage out of the contact, the Team Watson number 7 ride doesn't look like too much damage, so maybe got a little lucky there with that 42 ride. Blinking may not have actually caused too much damage there to the 7 machine. Unfortunately for Ryan Haller, it did cause quite a bit of damage for him. Did have to come down pit side and get those repairs, but here he is rolling back out there on the racetrack in that 16th position with Zach Clater down to his inside. That's Brandon Eddington and the 38 of Keegan Huey back there in the 19th position, as Nick Jensen is rolling back out there on the track. He is about a lap down now, so that might hurt him, might help him here. We still see him blinking out there on the speedway, so it's going to be something that we're going to have to keep a close eye on. And as Zach Perry already out, James Jones, short in hand, did not race or did not start this race. We did see at least a lap for Zach Perry, but that was about it. But here we go. Back to green flag racing. So the green flag back out into the air for that 16 of Matthew Wood. He gets a great restart, able to quickly slide up, clear that 57 of Applegate. And Applegate will now try to have to battle his way back around this 16 ride. It's been no easy task, to say the least, here in the series. Matthew has been fairly dominant. He's picked up a lot of wins. He's been strong pretty much everywhere he goes. And look out, there goes Marquin Brewer for a slide down through the infield grass. So the National Guard number 14 ride goes for a bit of a wild ride down onto pit lane here. No caution flag. We keep it clean and green, and unfortunately for the 14, no yellow flag, no saving grace, and unfortunately for the 14 ride, does receive a black flag right there, and I do believe iRacing will make him do a pass-through penalty, so things are just going to get even worse for that 14 machine. If he was able to keep it in the grass and not go down pit road, it probably would have helped him out a lot more. Unfortunately now, going to have to serve that penalty. Here we go, Applegate down low, looking to make the move. Oh, baby, sent it in there deep. Here comes Wood, battling back to the outside. So Matthew Wood in the 57 of Applegate, duking it out here this evening. As you do see, unfortunately, it looks like Mark Wynn's going to stay up for another lap. Looks like he may have gotten that black flag cleared, so that could be a very big break for him. Nick Jensen still blanking out there on the racetrack. He's going to have to try to get that figured out. It's going to be tough for anyone to want to race around him here if it continues to blink like that, because it could easily once again affect their race like we just saw for a couple of our other drivers, and that could put them into a very, very difficult position. Out in front, only 10 laps down in this race, only 10 laps in here, and you see Matthew Wood and Applegate, they continue to battle door to door here across the line. So 10 laps into this race, still a lot of racing left to go, still a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities for drivers to jump up here, jump into this battle, try to join this fun here at the front of the field. And you do see that 37 to Evan Stewart. Stewart has worked his way now up and into third, so a good run here brewing for the wheel-to-wheel Racing League number 37 ride as Stewart jumps in to position number 3. Wyatt Mickelson in position number 4. He'll continue to look for more as Caden Gargiulo rolls there in that 5th spot on the racetrack here. So good rebound after the contact there, able to not get too much damage and able to stick right here in the fight. Now inside the top 5 and looking to try to keep on moving forward, but also try to keep that Phoenix Esports number 1 ride. That is the Carrier Motorsports machine, the 31 of Mr. Dylan Carrier. Carrier's going to try to jump inside the top 5 now as he'll battle door to door with that 7 machine down and out of corner number 4 as here comes Nick Biddy. Biddy right there in that 7th position, trying to continue to get that Nick Biddy Designs ride up towards the front of the pack here as Jason Bogart there in 8th, Ethan Greek back in 9th, and Jaden Porter rounding out our top 10. So Porter right there trying to hold on to that 10th position, but the Mobile 1 Ghost Energy 81 of Jaden Browner. Browner looking to try to take it away from him. It looks like Browner will make that move, slide in front of the 74, and that will move Jaden inside the top 10 after gaining 8 positions already in this race. Right now, him and Jason Bogart both up 8 positions from where they started, and they have been working their way to the front of the field in a quick hurry as Anna Alessandro. What's good, Anna? Anna says, Peacemaker, what's up? What's up, Anna? How are you? How's your Sunday? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend. Hopefully you guys and everybody is enjoying their long weekend here. Obviously, you know, Labor Day weekend, a lot of extra time off, a little bit of extra time to hang out with friends and family, do a little bit of partying or anything else, and just relaxing here before you get that short work week back into the weekend. As you do see Bogart still rolling there in 8th, Ethan Greek in 9th, and Jaden Browner now inside the top 10 as the top 2 continue to battle here door to door. It's Applegate and Matthew Wood here for multiple laps so far here this evening. They have been door to door. They have been side by side, slicing and dicing it here at the front of the field. We've seen Matthew roll in that middle lane, the 57 of Applegate down low. It's really opened up the door here for other drivers to maybe play a little strategy behind them. How much will these tires become a matter here this evening, and it looks like it's already going to be a huge effect on these race cars. On the tires here, out there on the racetrack, already seeing about a second of tire fall off for pretty much everybody inside the top 10, maybe even a little bit more here and there, but really, it's been about a second of tire fall off for all of these drivers, and having that massive tire fall off only being done 16 laps of racing action here in this race, including 3 or 4 laps under the yellow flag. So really they've only got 12, maybe 13 laps of green flag racing under these tires, and already having a second of tire fall off really starts to open up the door here for some big strategies out of some of these drivers. Maybe playing it a little bit easier, rolling on the throttle here, not trying to lay down fast laps every single lap. Maybe just trying to hang back a little bit there and try to save your tires as much as possible, and you're really going to save a lot more tire when you're running single file. When you're running single file, you can kind of hit your lane, keep that car straight as possible. When you start running door to door, it's really using up a bit more of your tires, a little bit more of your gas. It's burning up some of your equipment out there on the racetrack. So for Matthew Wood and Applegate, as much as they continue to keep moving around, keep making moves and battling side by side, it's probably going to be hurting them in the long run, and we'll have to wait and see really how much that's going to affect them here this evening. And if we can start to see drivers like Evan Stewart, Dylan Carey, or maybe even you look back there at the 32 right at Nick Biddy and Caden Gargiulo, some of these drivers that may have started off a little bit slower, trying to take it a little bit easier here on their tires, not wanting to run super fast lap times, and just trying to be more consistent here out of that run. We did see a lot of drivers here, especially from about fifth on back now with that 32 ride to start this race. They were running about 30.4, 30.5 second lap times, where our race leaders were running 30 flats or 30.1 lap times for their best laps out there on the racetrack. So they were on the throttle a whole lot more, a whole lot quicker, burning up their stuff, and it could become an issue here later in this race as Applegate and Wood continue to battle door to door for the race lead. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you guys are just tuning in, make sure you guys do us a favor right now. Hit that like button on the stream for us. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button. Become part of the PeaceMaker family here today, whether it's over on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, as we're live on all 3 channels, bringing you guys non-stop amazing racing action. As Applegate and Wood continue this battle here at the front, you actually see a little bit of damage to the right front of both drivers. Seemed like a little bit more damage to the right front of the 57 ride, so it seems like they've gotten up, probably scraped that outside fence a little bit. You do see the 57 kind of getting back up there once again here, potentially causing more damage there to that 57 ride. You gotta be very careful with that. If you get into that wall a little bit too much, could tear up your equipment, could put you back down behind pit wall, trying to get repairs done to your race car out there on the speedways. Each and every one of these drivers, they're just hoping to try to get to, I do believe, the end of stage number 1. Let me double check here on what our stages are here this evening. So lap number 30 is the end of stage number 1. Lap 65 is the end of stage number 2. So virtually it'll be 2 30-lap runs here to start this race for these drivers. Now there's 4 sets of tires in the pits here. So 4 sets of tires, that really opens up the door to maybe throw a set on here at the stage break, maybe throw another set on at the second break, and then, maybe splitting up that final run, maybe making a 2-stop race there. I don't know how these guys are going to play it out. Maybe just try to save that extra set for later in the run, trying to put yourself into a good position for, later in this race here this evening. If you could get a little lucky, maybe give yourself an opportunity to, maybe get an opportunity to save that tires out there on the racetrack. Keep them in your back pocket for later in the evening. Could be a big break. Is Playford Cheats. Playford coming in, showing the love with the like on the stream. What's good, Playford? Playford coming in, showing the love here in this one. As out in front, it is Applegate. And for Applegate, trying to win this stage is a big deal here for the 57. He sits second in the points. He needs every point that he can get to try and slowly chip away and try to catch up to Matthew Wood for this championship lead. So for Applegate, being able to earn these stage wins are just extra points into his back pocket here over that 16 ride. Now obviously not gonna gain a ton here in this first stage, obviously with Matthew Wood right there behind him, but you never know. Matthew could slide back a couple more spots, could open up the door to, gain an extra couple points or two out there on the racetrack, or potentially put yourself into even worse positions and could absolutely end up making it so that you end up falling back and maybe back behind that 16 ride. If Matthew can find the runs, if he can find that groove, maybe he gets back to you in battles once again for the race lead. So we'll have to wait and see. Zapplegate out in front, 0.3 of a second between him and Wood. Evan Stewart there in position number 3. Nick Biddy's raced his way up and into 4th here as Dylan Carrier rolls in that 5th position. Caden Gargiulo there in 6th. Wyatt Mickelson back in 7th, with Jaden Browder, Keegan Huey, and Ethan Greek rounding out the top 10 here this evening. So for a bunch of these drivers up inside the top 10, earning some of these stage points could be very, very good for their playoff series here, trying to earn their way into that championship contention or a better position here in the playoffs. When you look back at drivers like Zach Clater, who's back in 11th, Haller's right there with them. You look even farther back at Jason Bogart, unfortunately on the outside looking in. You look at Zach Perry. You look at some of these guys that aren't even here again tonight. When we look at the standings and we look at the drivers that were a part of our championship and where they are now, they are not out there on the racetrack. They are not in this battle here again tonight, and that is a heartbreaker here for a bunch of them. When we look at the standings and you see drivers like Jordan Fisher, who had such a strong run, such a strong season, not being out there on the racetrack, he's just going to fall farther back, and I believe that's probably going to pretty much end his championship hopes here this year. When you look at a driver like Aiden Lucas as well, unfortunately not out there. So that's a couple of drivers that are not out there on the racetrack, not racing, not earning points out there. You look at Zach Perry, he was able to jump in here, run a lap, and that was it. He's currently scored all the way back, and I do believe the 21st position. So even though he'll get points for showing up and he'll get a point for starting the race, but at the end of the day, it's just going to take him from 6th position outside the top 10 more than likely. And unfortunately, that's really going to set up a tough run here for Fisher, for Zach Perry, for Aiden Lucas. And that's going to probably pretty much eliminate them. As here we go. End of stage number 1. Is stage number 1 going to come to a close with Grant Applegate out in front? Applegate does win stage number 1 here this evening. Matthew Wood there in position number 2. Evan Stewart in 3rd. Nick Biddy in position number 4 with Dylan Carrier. Caden Gargiulo, Wyatt Mickelson there in 7th. Keegan Huey in position number 8 with Jaden Browder and Zach Clater able to get that final spot there in the stage. So he rounds out our top 10. Unfortunately, Ethan Greek, Haller, Jaden Porter, Mike Corriveau there in position number 14. Caleb Holloman back in 15th. Jason Bogart there in 16th. Justin Hardy, Brandon Eddington, Marquin Brewer running out our top 19. I do believe we have seen Nick Jensen taking his car out of this race over. Nick Jensen no longer rolling out there on the racetrack as well. We had 23 drivers load into the sim here this evening. We're already down 4 Kents, no longer racing on the racetrack, and we currently now have only 19 drivers left duking it out here. Luckily enough, all 19 drivers are on the lead lap. All 19 will continue to keep on battling here today, and here they come down pit road as Applegate will lead us down pit side. I don't think with the tire fall off that we'll see any driver not make their way down pit road right here. Everyone has got to come down pit side. They've got to make this move and get this fuel, get these tires, as the tires are going to be so detrimental when you're losing a second and a half a lap. You can't risk potentially getting too far off cycle. So I think right here for this stage, you gotta get tires on. You see everyone getting jacked up, everyone getting a set of tires here, as you cannot risk not having them. But you do see Jason Bogart. Okay, Bogart making a strategy call here. He's gonna roll out into position number 1. What is the strategy for the 17? So he comes down to his pit stall, misses it right there. Oh, he's in the wrong pit stall. Oh, no. Heartbreaker there for the 17 ride. I don't think it's going to be that major of an issue here for Bogart, as he was already far enough back. He's not really going to lose too much track position, probably about 3 or 4 positions, so it's not really going to hurt him too much here, as he misses pit box, and unfortunately will now have to cycle all the way back around and head back down pit side. So it will give the race lead back into control for Grant Applegate. Matthew Wood will be there in second here. So here you go. Unfortunately, missing the pit stall, having to cycle through, and now headed back down pit road to get work done to this Flex Seal 17 ride of Jason Bogart there. Definitely a mistake that you don't want to have if you're one of our, playoff drivers out there on the racetrack. This is another opportunity or another issue that could set you back farther here this evening that could really hurt your chances out there on the racetrack. But here we go. We'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to green flag racing is out in front. The 57 rider, Grant Applegate, will get ready for the restart. He's got Matthew Wood there to his outside. Evan Schilling in position number, or actually not Evan Schilling, that is Evan Stewart in position number 3. It's Keaton Gargiulo there in 4th. Then we see Zach Lader, Jaden Browder, Ethan Greek in that 3E machine there in 7th. Ryan Haller in position number 8. And then we see Jaden Porter and Keegan Huey rounding out our top 10. So here we go, getting ready to go back to green flag racing here this evening for what is going to be a very, very exciting end to this race, man. This is going to be a lot of fun to really see who's going to be able to find that extra gear, who's going to be able to find the right changes to try and help out their car, try to put themselves into a better position out there on the racetrack here in stage number 2, as we'll hand out some more stage points here in about 30 laps from now. Actually, technically 31 laps, so that makes it that much more difficult for all these drivers. You add in that one extra lap and binding a caution flag, it may be a lot longer green flag run than what they had in that first stage. So they got to really be careful, really got to mind their P's and Q's when it comes to how hard they're running these tires. And already you see Applegate out in front trying to stretch out a race lead. Matthew Wood slides back to 3rd. Here is Evan Stewart, pulls right on around him. So Evan Stewart now up into 2nd here. Heck of a run here this evening for Evan Stewart, as he's been right up here in this battle. And then you start to see other drivers like Zach Lader poke their nose into this fight here as well. So it's going to be interesting as we start to see some more and more of these competitors navigate their way to the front of the field looking for all these points. You do see that Lader with the yellow sticker there in the top left of the window, that he is one of our playoff competitors. He is one of our playoff drivers here this evening. And for the 39 ride, he was able to get a fairly solid first stage, and now looking for an even better second stage out there on the racetrack, trying to advance himself a little farther in the point standings as he rolls out into that 4th position. But how much are you giving up? How much are you using? Last time around, we saw quick times for pretty much everybody out there on the racetrack, other than Dylan Carrier, Caden Gargiulo, and the 16 of Matthew Wood. They're the only 3 drivers that are rolling out on the racetrack that did not run their best laps the last time around this racetrack. So that really puts into comparison how these drivers are kind of pushing the limits here, maybe using up their tires, using up their equipment a little too much here early on in this one. So you got to be careful, because Matthew Wood, some of these drivers that definitely just saw how the tire strategy played out, how the tire strategy kind of went there, and what they may need to do to try and combat the speed out of some of these other drivers. If you can just save tires out there on the racetrack, not push the subject too early, save those tires for a little later in the run, you can gain a ton of ground and maybe even get back in front of the drivers that are in front of you to take over the race lead. We saw it there for a little while with that 32 rider, Nick Biddy, and again, Biddy kind of slides backwards here at the start of this run, but he was making moves late in that first stage and worked his way up into position number 4. So you can see that there's a lot of speed out of some of these cars, a lot of speed out of some of these guys that are, all those fresh tires, but it's all about how long you can have those fresh tires. You do not want to wait too long. You do not want to put yourself into a position where, you're not going to be able to keep battling, be able to get good runs late in the race or late in the tire strategy here, and especially if you keep rolling that strategy and coming down pit road virtually every, 30 laps or so, we should see these drivers back down pit road at the end of this stage. We should also see them back down pit side, roughly probably around lap, I'm going to say 85 to lap 90. And then it'll be kind of a split decision on what drivers are going to do. That final stage is going to become very, very odd. So it's about a 60-lap run. But as you start the final stage here, after stage number 2, you've virtually got about 60 laps of racing action. Now, do you come down pit road after 30 laps, or do you kind of stretch it out a little farther? And if you do, that's going to give you good tires virtually right up to the end of this race, or at least a 30-lap set of tires to finish off this event. So it's going to get really, really interesting on what these Kents are going to want to do out there on the racetrack and how that strategy is going to affect this race. And if we'll see, even if the strategy plays into that favor, the tire strategy, the fuel strategy, how does it play into effect here today, where we don't know how many caution flags are going to fly? We've seen one already in this race for incident. We saw one there for that stage break. Other than that, it's been pretty solid, pretty clean and green out there on the racetrack, and you got to start to assume that these guys are going to be in for some long green flag runs, and that really opens up that notebook in the strategy game here later in this race, as Applegate still out in front, still has the race lead, holding strong here at the front of the field, trying to keep all these drivers back there at bay, as 24-48 Aviation says screen went black for the 42, had no idea where he was at. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's a big problem there for the 42 ride, and obviously it was big enough that he's taken that car off of the racetrack and out of this race, and that is a tough thing to see. Never want to see that for a competitor out there on the Speedway, especially for Jensen, man. He was having a pretty solid run. He was up inside the top 4, top 5 there, battling here early in this race, and then running into those connection issues, causing that first caution flag, and then obviously still could not get that blinkiness to get under control, and unfortunately has taken that car back down behind pit wall. And now for Jason Bogart here. Bogart started fairly solid, moved up through the field, but now here in stage number 2, after a tough pit cycle there, we saw him come down pit road, miss his pit stall there during that first stage break, and as he missed the pit stall, he had to come back around and do another pit stop out there on the racetrack, and ever since then he really hasn't been able to catch up to anybody. Still rolling back here in that 19th position. He's got a few seconds between himself and this 12 ride of Brandon Eddington, but Bogart is hunting Eddington down in a quick hurry. Seems like the 12 ride very much off the pace, but for the 17, still a big gap here. Almost 5 seconds between himself and Jaden Porter there for 17th, and to our race leader, it's even more of a big gap here this evening. It is about 12, almost 13 seconds now between him and Grant Applegate. He's got to be very, very careful. There's still about 19 laps left to go here in stage number 1, so there could be an opportunity for these guys to catch him and potentially put him a lap down out there on the racetrack here today, as Applegate out front continuing to lead this race, as you do see Matthew Wood back up into second. Wood was able to work his way around Evan Stewart, so Evan slides back into position number 3. Matthew Wood back up into second as Jaden Browder continues his march up towards the front, now into that 14th position. He started all the way back in 18th, now up 14 positions, sits in position number 4 for Zach Later, also up 12 spots on the racetrack here this evening. And Keegan Huey, he's up 13 positions. So for Glader, Keegan Huey, for Jaden Browder, they have been slicing and dicing their way through the field and working their way now up inside the top 3, top 5, and top 10 now for those competitors, and that's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do here later in this race, as Dylan Carrier rolls there in 8th, Ryan Haller in 9th. You do see Nick Biddy there in 10th. We'll have to wait and see if Biddy's just been trying to play it safe, save those tires here for later in this run, and start to track down the rest of our top 10 here, see if he can move himself a little closer to the front of the field again for some more solid stage points here this evening. As Applegate, though, out in front, was able to win stage number 1. Here at stage number 2, it's been all 57, as unfortunately Matthew Wood fell back early in that run. Now rolls in position number 2, has a pretty sizable gap here between himself and Applegate, as Applegate try to once again pull away from that 16, trying to give himself the edge here and wanting to win stage number 2 here this evening, trying to earn himself those extra bonus points that may close the gap a little bit between himself and Matthew Wood for the postseason championship here this year. So it's going to be fun to see how that one's going to play out. I know Applegate and Wood, definitely two tough competitors, two very good, talented competitors, and I'm sure we'll see them continue to duke it out week after week after week, and there's still a lot of time here for Matthew to try to pull some moves, try to pull some strategy, and see if he can work his way back out in front here and keeping that 57 ride back at bay as Jaden Browder working his way up and into third here. Evan Stewart's going to slide back into fourth, so Browder continues his march to the front of the field here this evening, as down across the line they'll complete lap number 51 here in this race, and that means we got about 14 laps left to go here in stage number 2. Stage number 2 quickly coming to a close, and quickly that's going to set the stage here for the final run, the final stage of the day, and how it may play out. Obviously, it's been pretty clean and green here. Green flag racing ever since the restart after the stage break. And for these drivers, it's really opening the door here for them. As let's see if we can jump on board here for a lap with Caden Gargiulo, as we'll take you for a ride around Kansas Speedway here with this 7 ride. Alrighty, beautiful lap around there with Caden Gargiulo. As you see that speed all the way down into corner number 1. Then you gotta just roll out of the throttle down here through 1 and 2. If you start to push, you gotta roll it a little bit more. If you can get that car to turn nicely, though, keep your foot somewhat in that throttle, be able to carry some of that speed momentum off the corner, sets up a good back straightaway. And then virtually the same thing again here in corner 3 and 4. It's a little bit more of the same. Not a lot of brakes. It's just a lot of kind of feathering that throttle, having that throttle control, and making sure that you're making the right moves to try to put yourself into a good run out there on the racetrack. Man, it's been interesting here. Obviously, a lot of these drivers running some different lines. As you see, the 39 machine to his outside, that is Zach Clater. So Clater run a little bit higher up here, and now he's moving down low as the 7 kind of goes to the middle. You take a look at Jaden Browder. He's rolling up there closer to that outside fence and even gets a piece of that fence right there, as a lot of different lanes, a lot of different lines for drivers to try and use them to their issues, or trying to help them out here with what they got going on and what they need to do here tonight to find that speed, to find that extra gear. And now you're starting to see Clater close that gap. He's rolling around the outside of this 81 right. Unfortunately for Jaden Browder, moving forward here throughout the evening. Now he's going to start to slide back here. At least it looks like he's going to lose at least one spot to the 39. Now here comes another position as Caden Gargiulo going to get around him here as well. So a lot of drivers starting to show some, maybe some weakness here on the longer runs. The tire wear really starting to come into effect. We see Browder going backwards now. We saw the 37, Evan Stewart, now sliding back into 6. Here comes Dylan Carrier trying to reel up to him, and for our race leader, Grant Applegate, he's still got about 9/10 of a second between himself and Matthew Wood. Matthew has closed the gap ever so slightly. He's down across the line. Lap number 57 completed here this evening, and we got about 8 laps left to go here in stage number 2 today. So 8 laps left to go here in this second stage as Applegate, Matthew Wood, 1 and 2 on the racetrack here once again. Zach Clater there in third. Caden Gargiulo in 4th. Jaden Browder back in 5th. We do see Dylan Carrier around that 37. Right at Evan Stewart for the 6th position. Nick Biddy there in 8th. Biddy, another one of those drivers early on, trying to save those tires, trying to keep himself out of problems there on the racetrack early on in the run. And here he is, slowly but surely working his way back up here, putting himself back into the battle and into contention for maybe some big stage points here for that that 32 ride as he rolls down low underneath of that 37. Unfortunately, Evan Stewart going to have to give up that position, but for the 32, he's able to make a big move, moving himself a little closer to the front of the field here once again late in stage number 2. Is out in front, it is that number 57. It is Mr. Applegate who continues to lead this race. So Applegate out in front as Matthew Wood trying to close the gap on him here, trying to hunt him down. Unfortunately, he is just continuing to run farther and farther behind here and just not being able to find that extra gear to jump up and into this fight up towards the front of the pack here in this one. So we'll have to wait and see if he can hang on to it or if Matthew Wood can maybe chase him down. This could be a true testament of what we'll see there in our final stage of the evening, as a couple of these drivers run in a little bit of a different strategy, but everyone has the same amount of tires. Everyone's got the same amount of fuel. It's all about who can kind of save the most, who can kind of keep their tires underneath of them and put themselves into a position that could keep them at the front of the field here and keep the rest of these drivers back there at bay. It's some absolutely amazing racing. These drivers doing a fantastic job. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button on the stream. Hit that share button. Hit that follow button. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Become part of the PeaceMaker family here today. And make sure you turn those bell notifications on. That way you never miss it when we go green flag racing here on PeaceMaker Gaming. As Applegate out in front, leading this race nice and easy down across the line. Lap 62 off the board. We got 3 laps left to go here in stage number 2. So Applegate looking to sweep the stages here this evening, trying to win stage 1 and stage 2. Unfortunately, not going to gain too many points there, as the driver that he is chasing for this championship is right there behind him. Matthew Wood rolling right in second here, pretty much all evening long in behind this 57 ride, except for that opening stint where we saw the two of them really battling side by side, door to door, swip and swap in positions. We'd see one lap where the 57 was out in front. The next lap, Matthew would be out in front, and back and forth for so many laps. And then finally, late in that first stage, Applegate just able to pull away, start open up that lead, and start to pull away from that 16 of Matthew Wood. But Matthew hoping that it's not more of the same here in our final stage of the day, as it's starting to happen here. Looks like he has realized he's probably not going to catch up to Applegate. Still a big gap here between him and that 57. And now that we have completed lap number 64, next time around it will be the completion here of our second stage. So for Applegate, he's sitting pretty. Just got to keep this car out of trouble. Got to keep it rolling. Keep it pointing in the right direction. Should be able to coast it in to another stage win here this evening, as the 57 ride nice and easy down into core number 3 and down out of core number 4 here at Kansas Speedway. It's the Good Wrench Service Plus number 57 of Grant Applegate, who picks up stage win number 2. So Applegate wins the second stage of the day as well, sweeping the 2 stages here in this race. And that is a heck of a run right there for that number 57 ride here this evening, as he looks to continue to try to build up those points and try to keep some in his back pocket to be able to try to hunt down that 16 of Matthew Wood for the championship lead here this evening. As Matthew, though, right behind him in that second spot. Caden Gargiulo in position number 3. Zach Glader back there in position number 4. Dylan Carrier rounds out our top 5 there at the end of the stage, with Jaden Browder, Evan Stewart, Nick Biddy, our top 8, Keegan Huey, and Ryan Haller rounding out our top 10, all earning some stage points here this evening. So a good break there for Huey and for Haller, also earning an extra point right there. We did see Wyatt Mickelson. He was obviously a little slower out there on the racetrack during that run, but for that number 51 machine, even with some issues and some pretty solid right front damage on that cat ride, he is still in the lead lap, back in about that 15th spot on the racetrack, and we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to green flag racing. We did see Jason Bogart very close, and I do believe he was able to stay on the lead lap, so that's a great break there for Bogart, as well, as we thought potentially he could go a lap down there during that stage, but he's able to keep himself rolling and not fall a lap down right there. So that's a good break there for him. As here we go, drivers heading back down pit side. So So here comes the 57, here comes the 16, and Matthew Wood and the rest of the field. Is everybody going to come down pit road? They're all going to throw on 4 fresh tires and a tank of fuel here and get ready for what is going to be potentially our final run of the day here. Obviously no stage breaks from this point on. We will see them go virtually clean and green now for the next I don't even know, 70 something laps here this evening. It's going to be a lot of laps as there's still a lot of time for drivers to try to work their way towards the front here. Obviously a 100 and I do believe it is 134 laps of racing action. This time by the start-finish line, the drivers just finished and completed lap number 67. So, I mean, what is that? That's 70 and 30. That is 70. That's 60. So, it's 67 laps. I think that math adds up. I think that maths right there at 67 laps of racing action left to go here this evening, which means that we're virtually right on our halfway marker right now. Halfway in, halfway to go here throughout this race for Applegate. You'll get ready to restart here with Zach Glader, Dylan Carrier, Nick Biddy back behind him. Unfortunately, slow pit stop there for Matthew Wood, and Matthew falls back into the 6th position here, so losing some of that track position. How will that hurt and affect this number 16 machine here today as we'll get them all ready to rumble, ready to go back to battle here in this one? What we're going to do here, just over halfway through this race, we're going to jump into a PeaceMaker Gaming Crank It Up. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we go back to battle here today, we want you guys to crank up that volume, cheer on your favorite drivers as we get ready to set them back loose here at Kansas Speedway for the wheel-to-wheel racing series here at Kansas Speedway for our 3rd playoff race of the season. Our 3rd playoff race here, officially more than halfway through now, and we're getting down to the end of our 3rd race. They're really going to potentially mix up the point standings even more after last week, seeing some issues for a lot of drivers, seeing some drivers miss that race, and now those same drivers missing this race, virtually taking them out of the championship contention here this year. But man, it's going to be fun to see if Applegate can close that gap, maybe hunt down Matthew Wood for the points lead, making it a little bit tighter, a little bit more nerve-wracking for Matthew going into next week's races. Here we go, back to Green Flag Racing and into the PeaceMaker Gaming Crank It Up here this evening. Caution flag on the racetrack. Yellow flag here during our PeaceMaker Gaming Crank It Up, and the Crank It Up caution flag curse will continue here tonight as on lap 78 we see Dustin Hardy run into some issues here. Let's get another angle at it, another look at it as you watch this 86 ride, the Hardy's Designs machine. Door to door here, him and Keegan Huey. Unfortunately, not sure if Huey just comes up right here. Obviously, Huey down on the apron, rolling down there, comes up the racetrack. And yeah, just comes up the track right here, slams into the side of the 86, but just shoves this 86 of Hardy sideways, slides up into the outside fence. Pretty solid contact there for him. Watches back down the racetrack. Look out, Caleb Holloman almost getting collected in that one. Luckily enough, he's able to avoid him, but for everyone else having to do a good job here to avoid this 86 hard contact there into the outside fence. Comes to a stop right there, and that's where the yellow flag will be displayed. So a tough break there for the Hardy Designs Ford, as he'll have to get that thing pointed back in the right direction, get rolling once again on the Speedway, and hope that he can get that car repaired and back into the battle here today, as we do see a lot of drivers electing to come down pit road right here. So a lot of cats coming down pit side, maybe thinking this is their opportunity here. We do see a few of them getting tires, some of them not getting tires when you look at Caden Gargiulo, but you do see tires going on to Wyatt Mickelson's ride, and a few of these other drivers taking a fresh set here. Could that be the big break that they need to try to navigate their way up to the front of the field here today? As you do see Caden Gargiulo still down on pit road, has not rolled back out onto the racetrack as of yet. He's lost a bunch of positions here. We'll have to wait and see how that continues on throughout the day. As out in front, Applegate, Dylan Carrier, Matthew Wood, Zach Later, Nick Biddy, Evan Stewart, and Marquin Brewer all did not come down pit road. Now, that's about 10, 11 lap tire difference here potentially between our top 7 and the rest of the drivers that just came down pit side. So that could be a big, major make or break position right there. We'll have to wait and see kind of how that's going to affect these drivers and how quickly the fresh tires may be able to navigate their way back up towards the front, and if that's going to cause more issues. Some drivers may be rolling a little bit slower than others, and that's where a lot of times we see cats just get kind of ran over and put into very, very tough spots out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see how this continues on here this evening as we'll get them all stacked up and ready to rumble. As Applegate hangs on to the race lead, still out in front here. Dylan Carrier there to his inside in position number 2. Then we see Matthew Wood, Zach Later, the 32, and Nick Biddy running out our top 5. Evan Stewart there in 6. Marquin Brewer, Mike Corriveau there in position number 8. Then we see Jaden Porter, Ethan Greek, Ryan Haller, Jaden Browder, Dustin Hardy, Wyatt Mickelson, Jason Bogart, Caleb Holloman, Keegan Huey, Caden Gargiulo, bringing up our top 18 here, as you do see Caden Gargiulo all the way back here deep in the field, and now we do see Brandon Eddington still down pit road here. Eddington still down pit side, not rolling back out there onto the racetrack as of yet, and we'll have to wait and see if he can rejoin this race. It looks like he's already gone a few laps down here for the 12 ride, and unfortunately looks like we may only have 18 drivers left to duke it out here this evening. As here we go back to green flag racing and back to our PeaceMaker Gaming. Crank it up, as look out, there goes the 31 of Dylan Carrier. Looks like Carrier, I don't know what just happened there to the 31 ride, but looks like he may have spun the tires, or I don't know if his wheel turned off or what may have just happened here on the restart. Let's take a look at it as he was restarting there in position number 2 on the inside and just getting back onto the throttle. I'm not sure if he spun the tires or what may have happened. Nonetheless, shoots down the racetrack, loses all that track position, goes from running in 18th to now the rear of the field here in quite a while here. He's got about 14, 15, 16 seconds all the way to our race leaders, as he's about half a lap down already after that issue, and that is not the spot that he wanted to be after this restart. As out in front, Applegate continues to lead the way, as we'll continue on with our PeaceMaker Gaming Crank It Up. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crank up that volume and continue to cheer on your favorite drivers. Alrighty, as the caution flag does come back out here, as unfortunately for Wyatt Mickelson, going to run into some issues here. Let's take a look at it. There's a little bit of looseness, a little bit of help right there. Tries to overcorrect it, and all of a sudden, car just snap hooks back up the racetrack right there. Tough break for him. So just getting loose down here. Unfortunately for that Caterpillar number 51, he shoots it down into core number 3 here, trying to get underneath the Nick Biddy as he rolls there in position at number. He's rolling in about the 8th position on the racetrack. He's just going to get loose here down low on the bottom side. Just cannot get the run that he was hoping for. And obviously getting loose does not help. And then all of a sudden you get Dustin Hardy kind of on your back bumper. Not helping the situation at all. May have been able to save it right there. And then the little nudge here may have helped him out a little bit more. Just to get that thing even more sideways. And as he's trying to keep that car pointing the right direction, he's got the wheel cranked to the right. And all of a sudden it just snap hook straightens out. And it shoots back up the racetrack. Now great break here. Great piece of driving for Ryan Haller, as Haller just able to avoid him there. Luckily enough for Ethan as well, as he could have gotten cleared out right there. And obviously for Mr. Creek, good job avoiding it. Obviously some good driving there for Marquin Brewer and some of these other drivers that were able to avoid major contact and damage out there on the racetrack, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to green flag racing. As out in front, not coming down pit road, it is this number 81 ride. So Jaden Browder elects to stay out on the racetrack, did not come down pit side. This is a different call right here, different strategy here for the 81 machine. And down out of pit lane, it's the 23, Ryan Haller. Haller, all of a sudden with a quick pit stop. Let's take a look here and see how Haller is able to get down pit road and make this quick stop. I'm not sure if he just goes for fuel only potentially right here in the 23 right. Here he is into his pit stall. Crew's going to go to work, and it doesn't look like there's any tires going on that right. So fuel stop only for the 23 right, and that will put him out into position number 2. So it's going to get very interesting here in a quick hurry as these drivers get ready to go back to battle. They get ready to duke it out here. As down across the line, they will click off a lap number. I believe they will complete lap number 94 here this evening. So 94 laps completed, meaning that we only got 40 laps of racing action left to go here in this race. 40 more laps to duke it out here today for each and every one of these competitors. That's still a long distance, still a lot of laps, and more than likely going to be at least one more pit stop, I think, for each and every single one of them, as I do believe they're going to have to try to maybe split this final run up. You got kind of 40 laps, maybe 38 laps, maybe you come down pit road after, 15, 20 laps of racing action, you come back down pit side, you throw another set of tires on, or you potentially are out of tires now to this point, or maybe, just maybe, you got a set left over. You just kind of roll with the punches, hope that you catch a late race caution flag, be one of the few drivers that may still have a set of tires back behind pit wall for very late in this race. Throw them on and see if you can navigate your way through the traffic and up to the front of the field here for a big gain out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see how this one kind of plays out as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. It's Jaden Browder out in front. Browder has the race lead here in that 81 machine. Ryan Haller to his outside. There you see Applegate back in third. Evan Stewart there in fourth. Matthew Wood, our top 5 out there on the racetrack as we get ready to go back to battle here this evening. From Kansas Speedway, as down through the Geico restart zone, the green flag is back out into the air. Green flag is back out, and a good solid restart right there for that 81 machine. Luckily enough, able not to spin the tires, but now you're going to see the power of those fresh tires compared to even 10, 12 lap old tires here, as the 57 down low just going to put the power down, move right around the 81 machine and take over the race lead once again. So out in front, it is Grant Applegate. Applegate with the race lead. He is looking very strong here this evening, as he's been leading a lot of laps here at this race. The only driver that's really been able to jump up and make passes on him on the racetrack has been that 16 ride of Matthew Wood. Wood still battling here, trying to figure out a way to get around this 23. Ryan Haller finally makes the move around Haller and puts himself back up into position number 4. Still has Evan Stewart and Jaden Browder right there as well. It'd be nice to see if Evan Stewart can finish this one off, get himself a very solid point stay here for one of our playoff competitors out there on the racetrack, as Evan looking to continue to keep on gaining points and hoping that he can maybe put himself into the battle for this championship as things continue to kind of get a little bit more sprung out here. More and more races that we get under our belt here in the playoffs, the more of a point lead that Matthew Wood has built up. So he's got 59 points separating himself and Applegate. Now Wood came home second in both those stages, gave up a couple points there to Applegate, but even though Applegate had gained those spots, still a big gap between himself and Matthew Wood. And unfortunately for Evan Stewart, even though right now he's just in front of Matthew Wood, he did lose some points during the stages, and same with everybody else. So for a driver like Evan Stewart being 81 points back from Matthew Wood here in these points, and now we do see everyone kind of getting checked up here down the back straightaway. I'm not sure if there was an issue there for the 57 ride of Applegate, as Applegate just down and out of corner number 2, came up limping here. So I'm not sure if he makes a mistake out there on the racetrack. Let's play it back and take a look. Potentially on corner entry, maybe just, I don't know, if he's just trying to save a little tire here at the same point in time. He just rolls out at corner number 2 right here. Seems like he's limping here down the back straightaway, and that opens up the door for Evan Stewart to kind of jump up and get around him. And now we do see these guys continuing to battle all around him. Here comes Matthew Wood down to the inside, and for the 57 ride, going the wrong way in a quick hurry. I'm not sure if this is part of the game plan, just trying to save a little tire here for late in the races. Now we see Nick Biddy up into the outside fence. The 37 ride starts to roll out of the throttle, so maybe drivers are realizing that they could get very close to making it on fuel. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden we're 2, 3, 4 wide racing here at Kansas Speedway, and these guys are putting on one absolutely amazing show for us as the battles continue to brew and all these drivers continue to try to find their way up to the front of the field. As Nick Biddy able to jump up, take that race lead, now try to hold all these drivers back there at bay. He wants to be able to run away with this one and try to put himself up and into the winning situation, but I'm not sure what that winning situation is going to look like now, as Evan Stewart slid back to about 3rd. Matthew Wood right there to his inside, but you take a look back at Applegate, now stuck back in about the 9th position on the racetrack, has that 46 of Mike Corriveau there to his outside, as Corriveau trying to keep the 57 back there at bay. Here comes Ryan Haller, Caden Gargiulo. Is this just Applegate maybe trying to save a little bit out there, maybe trying to save tires? I'm not sure what he was going through right there, but obviously it was enough to affect his ride that he is falling this far back, and this is not a great spot to be. Falling farther and farther behind, having some sort of an issue here for the 57. Not a fun place out there on the racetrack, and it's a little bit more treacherous. And now that you give up that clean air, the fresh air, it makes it even tougher for you to try to work your way back up and around, guys, to find your way back to our top 3, to our race leaders back bumper. You kind of get that aero dirty air, and it can slow you down a whole lot more than what you're expecting, and you may not be able to even get a good solid finish out of the race. So we'll have to wait, see how this kind of plays out, see who's going to be able to put themselves into a good position here later today, because there's still a lot of laps left to go here. Still quite a few laps left in this race, is down and across the line. They will click off lap number 104 here this evening. So 104 laps done. That means we got 30 more laps of racing action left to go here this evening. And man, look at how it's kind of rolled out here for this last little bit for these drivers, and for this last little bit of a run, man, it is kind of really busted things open. Obviously, we've seen a lot of drivers fall backwards, other drivers move forwards, and how much the last 10 laps had really affected and changed the, potential outcome or the way that this race is. And it may not be done. We may see this a few more times, and if we do see a potential late race caution flag, who's got those tires back behind pit wall that could use them to put themselves up and into what could be victory lane here today, as we take a look at Nick Biddy, who's got the race lead. Matthew Wood there in second, trying to hunt him down. Jaden Browder hanging on to 3rd here. Dylan Carrier back up inside the top 5 as he rolls there in that 4th position. Evan Stewart back into position number 5. Zach Later there in 6. Mike Corriveau back in position number 7. Caden Gargiulo, Grant Applegate, and Jaden Porter rounding out our top 10 on the racetrack is some great racing here again this evening, man. These guys have been putting on an absolutely amazing show for us. What's good, Biotic Man, coming in, showing the love here this evening over there on Facebook. What's good, brother? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Some absolutely amazing racing action here in this one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you guys have been enjoying the racing action, make sure you guys do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that follow and subscribe button. Is here comes Applegate. Looks like he's gonna turn the wick here once again. He's looking to try to hunt these guys back down. So for the 57, maybe it was just trying to save that couple laps of fuel. Maybe he just needed that extra lap or two out there, and over the last 5-10 laps is kind of falling back and is trying to save that fuel. But now that he may have the green light, he may have the good to go here from his crew chief, may not have to worry about fuel here for the rest of this race, or may have just given up on the strategy altogether and now trying to regain all of that track position. He's back up inside the top 5 as he moves around Zach Clater for that 5th position. Now he's going to try to figure out a way to gain this 3-second lead that Nick Biddy has built over top of him here. So Biddy has 3 seconds between himself and Applegate, but Applegate being pretty much the fastest car here this evening. How is he going to be able to hunt him down? How quickly will he be able to get there? And how difficult will these passes continue to get? Will Jaden Browder just allow him to get by here? Will Dylan Carrier, Matthew Wood try to hold him up, knowing that potentially it could be a big point, or potentially even battling for the race win at that point when he catches them? So we'll have to see how this plays out. Obviously, Nick Biddy not going to want to give up this race lead. He's going to be doing everything he can to keep this Nick Biddy design 32 right out in front, trying to hold off all these other drivers wanting to win this race, gain some very valuable points here on the night as well, and some bonus points as well. So for the 32 Ryan, he's sitting in prime position out there on the racetrack as we inch closer and closer to about 20 laps left to go here in this race. I do believe next time by the start finish line it's going to be 23 laps left to go here in this race, and man, that makes things that much more exciting, that much more interesting, man. Only having 23 laps left to go, we start to calculate in fuel and tires and everything else, and obviously where drivers are running and what kind of different strategies they've been kind of playing with out there on the racetrack. How is it going to affect this race? Will we have to see these guys make another green flag pit stop? And when, if they do, when do you come down pit road? Do you come down early enough that you can throw on your set of tires here late in the race and use them to your advantage while you can, hoping and banking that there's not another caution flag? Or do you stay out there later, hoping that you don't see the caution flag, or you do see one here very late in this race? If you can catch a yellow flag with, 5-6 laps left to go, well, everyone else has that 10-15 laps, so on their fresh tires, potentially that puts you into the catbird seat. You give up the track position, but you get the fresh tires onto your race car. Maybe you can just drive right around these guys with those fresh tires to put yourself up into the front of the field here. So I think there's going to be a lot of different drivers that are going to play some very big and very interesting strategies out there on the racetrack. Yo, what's good, Black Phoenix? Black Phoenix 843 coming in, showing the love over there on Facebook. And Turb Ferguson, what's good? Turb Ferguson says, let's go Gargiulo. Cheering on Caden here this evening. Caden having a pretty solid day so far. He has not been upside down, has not ended up on his lid, and for the 7 ride, rolls there in about that 8th position. He'll look to continue his march up towards the front of the field here, trying to rebound, put himself back inside the top 5 out there on the racetrack. As Nick Biddy out in front, though. Biddy has a race lead now of about 1 second between himself and Matthew Wood, and it's continuing to grow. So Biddy, with that fresh air, is starting to pull away here. Dylan Carrier sits in 3rd, and now you do see Applegate back up into position number 4 here. So he was able to navigate his way around Jaden Browder. Browder falls back to 5th, and for Applegate, trying to regain this race lead. He's trying to battle back here after that strategy early in this run. Here he is in that 4th spot, reeling in that 3rd and 2nd place driver in a quick hurry. So maybe just saving tires there for a couple laps. Maybe that'll be the difference maker for him. But he's had the speed, he's had the car all night long. Can he hold off and pull up here and just pull off a great rebound here to still win this race potentially? And if fuel, tires, whatever else may become an issue here. How is he going to be able to roll with it? And how is he going to be able to make some moves to get around these guys? Honestly, Nick Biddy not just going to pull over and give up the race lead, even for Dylan Carrier. Not going to want to just slide around and move out of the way here for Grant Applegate. Now, he may do so because he's not a part of the playoffs, and he's missed a lot of races here in the series, but I know Dylan's probably going to battle here a little bit with that 57 right. Not going to make it super easy to get around him, and as the 57 has to back up a little bit right there, Jaden Browder poking his nose right back into that fight, hoping that he can maybe open the door and maybe make a pass to get back around the 57. So we'll see if this continues on and how much this is going to affect Applegate in his run back to the front of the field as Nick Biddy continues to lead the way. Biddy out in front, but the gap between him and Matthew Wood starting to fall apart here. Wood really starting to hunt him down. So I've seen this before out of Matthew, where he's had the same situation, a fast driver back behind him trying to hunt down not only himself but the race leaders. Matthew probably had the speed to maybe get up here, battle with Nick Biddy, take the race lead away from him there early in the start of this run, and elected not to. Maybe elected just kind of hang back there and just hang out in that second, third position for a while, knowing that he was going to start going until he saw Grant Applegate start to catch up to him here. Obviously waiting for Applegate to, start moving forward, start burning up his equipment. Now Matthew Wood's kind of on the pedal here. Maybe that's what he needs to start to open up a little bit of a gap here and trying to hunt down Nick Biddy and try to put a distance between himself and Applegate. As there you go, you still see Dylan Carrier still holding up Applegate here. Applegate still hasn't been able to find a way around this Phoenix Esports ride, and unfortunately for Grant Applegate, he's lost about a half a second, almost a second now between himself and our race leader, so that really did slow him down quite a bit. And for that number 57 ride, finally able to get around a Dylan Carrier there, but man, that may have been it. That may have been all she wrote. He had to battle hard there, burn up his equipment pretty decently right there. So tires may have fallen off a bunch for that 57 ride, just trying to complete that pass. And now with a much bigger gap between himself and Nick Biddy and Matthew Wood, it's going to be that much tougher for him to try to track down our top two drivers out there on the racetrack, because we did see a few drivers like Jaden Browder come down pit road here. So Browder did come down pit side. We did see Caleb Holloman also down pit road. We've also seen now Keegan Huey also down pit side here in that 38 ride. So a couple drivers making early calls to head down pit road here, making these pit stops, knowing that they're not probably going to be able to make it on fuel. But now for the next 13, 14 laps, they're going to have some pretty fresh tires to see if they can try to at least rebound, maybe leapfrog a couple of drivers, maybe put themselves into a better position. And if any of these other drivers here at the front of the field, if you've got to make another pit stop, when do you pull the trigger, man? You don't want to wait too long, especially if you want the advantage. But if there's a late race caution flag, if we see a yellow and you've already made your pit stop, you've ran 4, 5, 6 laps on a fresh set of tires, it can kind of kill the life out of them, as everyone else could come down pit side, give you the track position, but have the better tires that you're just going to be a bit of a roadblock there in front of them. So we'll have to see how this kind of plays out as the 32 still out in front here, still holding off Matthew Wood. Wood has been trying to reel him in, trying to catch up to him, hasn't really made too much ground. The gap has been roughly right around that 0.6 of a second, and unfortunately for Applegate, we talked about how that battle with Dylan Carrier may have cost him his chance to get back here to the front to try to win this race. He's been losing time now. He's back now about 3.2 seconds behind Nick Biddy, so he's actually starting to fall farther and farther behind our race leaders here, and unfortunately looks like he is going to either need that caution flag or some fresh tires onto this 57 ride to breathe some new life into this machine as we get closer and closer to that checkered flag down across the line. It'll be 10 more laps left to go here for Nick Biddy. So 10 more laps left to duke it out here this evening, as we do see Ryan Haller will fall a lap down there. Tough break for Haller, scored back in about the 14th position. Been a tough race for him, tough race for Jason Bogart. Wyatt Mickelson's gotten tied up in a couple of things, so some of our playoff drivers definitely running into issues out there on the racetrack. But out in front, it's 3 of our playoff drivers here up inside the top 3. We got I do believe 5 of our playoff drivers inside the top 6, excluding Dylan Carrier. You have Biddy, Wood, Applegate, Stewart, and Clater all up there inside the top 6 right now, duking it out here this evening for Evan Stewart and Zach Clater. They would love to try to get around this 31 ride of Dylan Carrier, as Carrier, a non-playoff driver here, kind of stealing an extra point away from them. That could become a huge point that they may need in the future to gain a spot in the point standings, to maybe move themselves a little bit forward and try to help themselves in getting a better finish here in the points this season. As Nick Biddy out in front, he's looking to try to capture this checkered flag after we saw Applegate kind of fall back. We saw Matthew Wood kind of roll out of it, and we saw Nick Biddy make a big move to the outside groove, able to get around Evan Stewart, around a bunch of these other drivers, and put himself out in front. And ever since that point, he has just been right there, keeping himself here at the front of the field, keeping that gap between himself and Matthew Wood. But does Matthew kind of have a little bit left in the tank here? Can he make a late race move and catch up to this 32 ride? And even if you can catch up to him, you got to figure out a way to get around him. And that is the big question mark here this evening. Can you get around him? Can you make a move to put yourself into a position to get back into this race, to get back into the battle here today for that number 16 ride? Does he have enough here? About 5/10 of a second between himself and Nick Biddy. The laps continue to click down. It's down across the line. It is 6 laps left to go here. So 6 more laps of racing action. Less than 6/10 of a second. So if he can start to gain a 1/10 a second, he can catch him. You'll have a lap or two to try to make a move around him. But that time is starting to cut down more and more. But he does get a great run down through 3 and 4. Closes the gap quite a bit here and down across the line. Runs about 2/10 quicker right there than Nick Biddy. So the gap is now about 3/10, 3 car lengths here between Biddy and Wood, with only 5 laps left to go here in this race. And it is on like Donkey Kong, as Nick Biddy going to try to keep that dirty air on the nose of the 16 ride, going to try to keep that car just kind of as much unbalanced as possible here late in this race. And for Matthew Wood, he's going to go to work to try to figure out a way to get a run, to find a lane, and try to work himself into the top spot out there on the racetrack. As Biddy, though, he's not going to give it up easily. He's going to battle hard here, wants to put this car up and into victory lane, wants to pick up the checkered flag here today. And with only 4 laps left to go, it is his to lose, finding a late race caution flag to really mix things up here this evening. It's the only really big thing that could affect the outcome of this race later on. Applegate kind of out of it. He's about 3 seconds still behind these guys, unfortunately, has not gained any time. And now you do see damage on the 57. He gets sideways right here. He's sideways again. Look out. This could be the caution flag. There he goes around. He's down in the grass, though. Will the car roll back up onto the racing surface? Oh, he stops right there on the yellow. No yellow flag. It stays clean and green. He gets rolling. No caution flag on the racetrack. That's great news for Biddy, but here comes Matthew Wood pushing the subject. Wood rolls to his back bumper here. He is right there down across the line. Only 2 more laps left to go here in this race. 2 more laps left here in this one, as we did see Applegate heavy right front damage. We got to assume that he got up into the outside fence, shot down the racetrack, and that is going to do it for Grant Applegate. Just went a lap down here this evening. But for Matthew Wood, it's not over. Big run to the outside. Able to get the power down, makes the move, and steals the late race lead from Nick Biddy. As Biddy quickly falls back here. Oh no, Biddy may be in trouble here. I'm not sure if he's got enough fuel. Is he out of fuel right here, ladies and gentlemen? Matthew Wood pulling away like crazy. I think Nick Biddy has ran out of fuel. He may have been able to hold him off, but for the 32, out of gasoline. Looks like that will do it for that 32 today. Can Matthew Wood make it back down across the line? Wood out in front, nice and easy. Down into corner number 3. He's running that the smallest distance here, and he's losing a lot of time to Evan Stewart, but he's not rolling out of fuel that quickly. And here he comes down across the line. Matthew Wood will win another one and stretch out his points lead even more here in the Wheel-to-Wheel Racing League. So Matthew Wood gets it done again, puts that 16 ride into the best position possible, able to save enough fuel, able to put himself into the top spot here late in the race, as obviously we saw issues there for the 32 ride of Nick Biddy running out of fuel for Biddy, still trying to finish this race here. He scored in the 11th position. Looks like he's going to slowly crawl down and across the line here for Nick Biddy for what looked to be, a lap and a half short of fuel here this evening. Could have potentially found himself into victory lane. Unfortunately, not going to get there as our race winner, as Matthew Wood right behind him will celebrate. Now here comes Applegate. Okay, I'm not sure what that was for, but Applegate just going to slide in there and destroy the 16 ride here this evening. I'm not sure what that was all about, but obviously Applegate not happy about something here, and he's just going to try to come in here and kill the 16 ride, and he's able to get that accomplished, as Applegate, known to kind of throw some temper tantrums and be a little sour at times over certain things that may not have been of anyone else's control out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see how that one gets played out, as Matthew Wood will no longer celebrate on the front straightaway. That car is now destroyed, and we'll get ready for Matthew to come into victory lane here for his post-race interview. As man, that was a heck of a run, heck of a drive right there for that number 16 machine, and being able to put himself into the winner's circle, man, that is a hell of a drive and a heck of a run for him, as we'll wait for him, Evan Stewart, and Zach Later to jump up here into the broadcast booth after their great runs on the racetrack here today, man. Some great runs, some great drives out there for each and every one of them, as Dylan Carrier up in 4th, Jaden Porter there in 5th, Mike Corriveau there in 6th, Caden Gargiulo, Marquin Brewer, Jason Bogart, Wyatt Mickelson, our top 10 here this evening. So big runs for some of them, obviously some good rebounds for some others. When we looked at Bogart and Mickelson, they were struggling a little bit out there on the racetrack, obviously for Nick Biddy, having such a great drive and then coming home in about position number 11 now. Definitely not the run that he was hoping for, and oh so close to the checkered flag here this evening. Rounder back there in 12th. Ryan Haller, not the run he was hoping for here today, as he finishes back in 13th. Caleb Hollum and Ethan Greek there in 14th and 15th for Applegate, finishes back in the 16th position. So after winning both stages, trying to play some different strategy there, all of a sudden it puts Applegate back in 16th here. Tough run right there for him, and loses a ton of positions to Matthew Wood, who wins the race, and now obviously will gain even more ground in the point standings over everybody else. As we'll get Matthew up here into the booth for his post-race interview. Hey Matthew, it's Aaron up here in the PeaceMaker broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, Matthew. It's been a long time no see, brother. After, picking up the win last night, you come in here tonight and you back it up with another win in the wheel-to-wheel racing league, man. Take us back through this one. Obviously, tires, fuel, huge strategy games going on out there. And then late in this race, you're just kind of hanging out, waiting for kind of look like Applegate to kind of catch up to you as he kind of start getting towards your back bumper. You pull back away from him, closer to that 32 ride. And then there, late in the race, you were just trying to chase down Nick Biddy, hoping that you could find the run to get around him here, and all of a sudden, as you're trying to make that move, he runs out of fuel. It gives you that race lead, and late in the race, you're just, trying to make it on fuel yourself there. We saw you down, just rolling the shortest way around the racetrack on that final lap. You had a very big lead between yourself and the number 37, Evan Stewart. He was able to close that gap a little bit on the final lap, but you were able to just get there across the line before running out of fuel. Being able to pick up this win, man. Take us back through what's going to go through your mind right now after what was a crazy, crazy race here tonight.
Well, again, it's another one of those races where I don't feel like the winner. Feel like Grant should be the winner. It was just another one of those next gen races. You couldn't get within a second of the car in front of you, and me and Grant I felt similar to pace on Grant, but as soon as somebody got ahead of me he got ahead of me on the restart, I would fall back a second from him and then run him down another 3/10 and then be just stuck there, and then the person behind me would be the exact same thing. So I think it would have been fun to battle him up front, but I think whatever way it would have went, if I would have gotten front, had a good restart and got in front in stage 2, I think I would have been able to aero block and led like he did. But he drove perfectly, and ended up in him. Caution came out for some reason. I'm not sure why yet, but I was able to do a really, really good job. I love saving fuel, and I was able to save it. And then I guess Grant got unlucky with the toe link, just like I did at Chicago Street Course. It's just the next gen toe link. He hit the wall just like I had hit it multiple times, and it completely broke it. So, it's gutting. I know the feeling, and it's gutting, and he shouldn't have to feel that every week. But championship fight will stay alive. But this is I know that feeling. It's gonna hurt for a while.
Yeah, definitely a tough break there for the 57 ride, and kind of stuck back in that third position. He seemed like he was reeling you guys back in, and then he got into a good battle there with Dylan Carrier. Carrier not wanting to give up that third position. Finally, Grant was able to get back around him, but it just seemed like that car never was the same. Burnt up the equipment there just that little bit too much, where all of a sudden we saw you and the 32 still pulling farther and farther away from the 57, and then yeah, he gets up into the outside fence there, and it didn't look just like the toe length. There was a lot of front end damage done to that 57 ride as well, and it almost brought out a late race caution flag, which really would have mixed things up even more, would have made things even more crazy here this evening. But for yourself, you're able to just keep on rolling. You see the 32 ride run out of fuel, and you're able to drive that 16 back up here into victory lane, obviously getting another big win, another solid points day, and stretching out your points lead here between yourself, Grant, Evan, and everybody else here in this series.
Yeah, definitely good race at the end there, and I knew it was going to be close. I knew, but I thought Biddy was saving and he was going to make it. My thought was that he was going to make it, so I kept pushing on and pushing on, and eventually I was right on the number, just trying to keep up with him. But I knew in the back of my mind that he wasn't going to make it, but I still pushed anyway, and almost compromised me on the last lap, but able to get it done. But again, just thank everybody that's out there supporting me, and everybody in Chad, Landon's family, everybody that's out there for me every week. You do a great job for us, and you appreciate you. Appreciate the admin team for letting me on, and we make good choreography. I guess that's the word. But either way, we work really well together. But it was fun. Thank the Lord for what He's done for me, and we'll go on and hopefully continue this fight. I got to see where Fisher is. I don't know where he's been.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Jordan Fisher has disappeared to, but unfortunately missing another race here tonight and going to fall even farther back here in the points, and it's really going to give you a very, very solid points lead here. I'm going to say probably closer to that, back towards that 80 to 90 point differential there between yourself and Applegate and Evan Stewart here going into race number 4 in our series, man. But Matthew, heck of a run, heck of a drive. Congratulations on the win here this evening, and we can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next Sunday.
All right, thank you, man.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Matthew Wood, as Matthew picks up the checkered flag here this evening. So we'll get ready now to pull in our second place finisher. It's Evan Stewart. Stewart comes home in position number 2. Hey, Evan, it's Aaron up here in the PeaceMaker broadcasting booth. Take a copy.
Yes, sir. What's up?
Not much, Evan, man. Solid run, solid drive for you here all evening long, and you came up so close to taking some victory lane here this evening. Obviously, late race issues there for the 57 of Applegate, and then we see the 32 run and Nick Biddy running out of fuel, and that opens up the door for you here to have another good run. If Matthew Wood would have ran out of fuel half a lap short, it could have been your night to be up here in victory lane, but you settle in for a very solid second place run and another very good point stay here for you, and actually end up closing the gap there on Applegate ever so slightly for second place here in our playoff points.
Yeah. So the first stage was good. We got third, and then the second stage was pretty awful. I was burning up my stuff because I wanted first place, and that's it's not the good mentality to have at some points in the race, but some points it is, and it ended up biting me, chewed through my right rear or my right front, and it sent me all the way back to where I got eighth, I think, but I still got a few stage points, and then uh the green flag runs is what really helped. I'm not a short run type driver, so being able for us to have some green flag runs, and then I've gotten a lot better at saving fuel. So um, if I could notice the numbers a lot better and do math right, I probably could have been a lot closer to challenge Matthew for the win. But I thought I was short all the way up until the last lap, and come to find out I had like 2 laps to spare. So we're getting closer to getting in the victory lane, but I'll take a second place to Matthew Wood any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Any day that you can jump into the sim, have a good run, have a great drive, and be able to put yourself into the top three, into a podium run here and behind Matthew, and having the likes of so many other talented drivers out there on the racetrack, man, it's absolutely just a thrilling spot to be. Obviously, being able to get those good finishes and good runs really helps you out here in the points and in kind of any of the other series when you build up that momentum and everything going into all these other series and other leagues as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. We've been on a pretty good run lately with the top tens and top fives. I think one of my friends, he does a little social media background of the whole wheel to wheel thing. He pointed out that I've finished in the top 10 since uh, every race except for Daytona, and I think when I got hooked at Indy. So we've been on a hot streak. We just need to find victory lane.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And I'm sure one of these weeks it's going to happen. We'll see you up here in victory lane yourself. And that's the main thing, man. Consistency is key. Consistency wins championships. And if it wasn't for Matthew Wood being so consistent himself, man, you could have came out of this race potentially with the points lead here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I could take it back, I'd definitely go a little harder, or I'd save a lot sooner than what I was trying to do, and so that way I could try to keep up with them. But we move on. We go to Bristol next week, I believe, because we pushed a couple of races for the Roval rescan. So we're gonna hope we go out there and get another top five run and keep closing the points gap to Grant, and hopefully Matthew wrecks out and makes the points closer one day.
Absolutely. Well, next week is actually Talladega, so definitely an opportunity there for some fireworks and some points kind of going your way there. If he runs into issues, could potentially open up the door for you to steal some extra points here next Sunday night. But Evan, hell of a run, hell of a drive here tonight, brother, coming home in position number 2. Who'd you like to thank for such a great run and great performance out there on the racetrack?
For starters, I'd like to thank you. I don't tell you enough. If I was in a broadcast booth, you'd probably hear it more. But I want to thank you because you do an absolutely amazing job. My family absolutely loves you. They compete in your chat all the time, so they can get number one. I'd like to thank my family for supporting me and my friends. Like I said, I don't talk about this to a lot of people, so for me to talk about it, for them to just always be in your chat supporting you and supporting the league as a whole, it makes me happy. And of course, my admins, specifically, especially Jaden. Jaden does a lot behind the background that a lot of you guys don't see. So if you guys ever like interact with him or anything like outside the league, tell him thank you because he does what I can't, which is a lot. And then lastly, I want to thank my drivers. You guys are solely the reason this has happened. I know I get on to you guys whenever stuff gets tough, but I really do appreciate you guys showing up every week and being dedicated, especially because I know this season is really long. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge shout there to all the drivers, and a huge shout out to yourself again, Evan. Heck of a run, heck of a drive here tonight, brother. Congrats on the second place finish, and we can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack. Maybe one spot better there at Talladega next Sunday night.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You as well. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our second place finisher there, Mr. Evan Stewart, as we'll get ready now to pull in our third place finisher, Zach Clater. Clater coming home here at third. Let's get him up here into the booth. Hey, Zach, it's Aaron up here in the PeaceMaker broadcasting booth. To get a copy?
What's up, man?
Not much, Zach, man. A little bit of a back-and-forth day for you, but late in this race, you're able to navigate your way up into the top 5 and then battle in there for, third, fourth, fifth position, and you end up coming home here in position number 3 to finish off another solid performance for that 39 ride here today, man. Take us back through what's going through your mind right now.
Yeah, so with the playoffs starting, I've been taking a different approach to how I usually race races. So the regular season, I'll just kind of lay in the back, let them all wreck, slowly make my way up forward, but really like no urgent rush. Just kind of take my time and last 30 laps, I'll find my way up there. But with the playoffs starting, trying to stay in the top 10 most of the race. That's preferably where I want to be all race, but sometimes, bad pit stop or unfortunate caution, somewhere puts me in the back. But tonight was a fun race. I had zero practice all week. Unfortunately, kind of got hounded with work all week, so I wasn't able to get a lot of practice in. So I just chose not to qualify. So I believe we started like 17th or something. Stage 1, we were kind of just able to. We were floating around the 9th, 10th, 11th, that little area right there, and I think we were able to get 10th, like right at the line. So that was a good one stage point, and then stage 2, just kind of like rebounding on our stage 1, just trying to stay in the top 10. I pitted 10th at the end of stage 1 caution and actually gained 5 spots on pit road, so that put me in the top 5. And then after that, it was pretty much just staying in that like top 6, top 7 range all race. I don't know how many cautions we had at the end there. It wasn't a lot, which that's pretty good for our standards, but there was just like a few scattered in there. But they wrecked all behind us, so there's really no like pressure to avoid a wreck or anything or crazy strategy. So just kind of staying with the lead group. I think we really were just cruising in like 4th place all race. And then whenever that last caution hit, it was perfect. Like it was for me personally. I don't know if it was anybody else. Like if we crossed the line with 10 to go, I had exactly 10.0 in fuel left. So it was really close. But I knew there was a few people that were gonna be out of fuel. I know Nick, Jaden Browder, I think that Dylan dude, I unfortunately don't know his last name, but they feel like they were kind of like going a little faster than most of us. So I kind of figured they were going to run out. And then within like the first 3 laps after that caution, I saw Grant. It looked like Grant, I feel like he kind of overkilled the fuel strategy. He obviously drove his way back up there. He's obviously fast, but he went from like 1st to like 20th. It felt like he was slowing us all up. I thought we were going to wreck there. It got pretty chaotic there. But so obviously we're trying to save there. Like I said, if it was 10 laps to go, I had exactly 10.0 in fuel left. So I was just trying to manage it. Late in that run, I was able to pass Evan, and then Evan passed me. So I was just trying to stand behind Evan, trying to like save on the drafting and everything, go half throttle. And it was really, really close. And then white flag, I think I had exactly 0.9 fuel left and actually ran out coming out of turn 4. So in a way, I perfectly saved enough fuel, but if we were like a group pack 3 wide right there, I probably would have lost a few spots. But luckily, I was able to give myself a good enough gap to hold on to that P3. Obviously, we were technically P5 on track. Obviously, with a few people running out, able to get that P3 and second podium at Kansas. So I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Been very, very strong here at Kansas, and hopefully that good run and strong performance here tonight will build some momentum and can carry on here throughout the rest of the playoffs. Zach, you park it up here in position number 3, man. Great run, great drive here this evening. Brother, who would you like to thank for another strong performance out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my CHR teammates. Hopefully they didn't wreck the field like they have been the last few races. I'll kind of throw them under the bus right here. Kind of been a little wreck fest back there, but hopefully they had a clean race. I know the 014 car had a top 10 day. Unfortunately, the 38 car, I think he had a little aero tightness damage type deal right there. But yeah, just thanking my teammates. We are obviously just trying to clock these laps, run these rest of the races in the league. Hopefully, get some top fives, wins, top tens, anything like that. But yeah, I thank those guys.
Absolutely, brother. Well, heck of a run, heck of a drive here this evening, Zach. We can't wait to see you out there on the racetrack next Sunday when we head to Talladega Super Speedway and maybe seeing this 39 ride right back up here in the broadcast booth. Maybe a couple spots better and up into victory lane.
Yes, sir. We'll give our best shot. Appreciate the broadcast.
Absolutely, brother. Enjoy the rest of your night. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Zach Glader, as Glader comes home in position number 3 here this evening. Unfortunately, that is going to do it for us here today. Can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Everyone coming in with the likes, the comments, the shares. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys, and we will see you guys back here in the next one. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen.
Burning rubber, tires screaming, engines go berserk. Pit stop precision like surgeons at work. Wheel to wheel, hands on the grip, no chill. Broadcast live, PeaceMaker keeping it real. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. 360 on the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags, wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. On the asphalt, danger a flirt. Every lap closer, the tires eating dirt. PeaceMaker's lens, the hype ignites. Streaming the chaos under neon lights. Draft game strong, slingshot out the lane. Calculated risk deep in the veins. Checker flags, wave dreams on the brink. Fast decisions where you barely get to blink. Yeah. From amateurs to legends, it's all the same heat. One wrong move might sweep defeat. High octane stakes climb mile by mile. PeaceMaker's mic hot, adding flames to the style. Speed demons on the track, hearts racing with the sound. Slide tight in the curves, sparks flying off the ground. Victory's a beast, it don't come easy. Wheel to wheel racing, the grind stay greasy. Greasy, the grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy. The grind stay greasy.